In December 1944, Allied soldiers along the quiet Ardennes front thought the war in Europe was nearly won. They were tired, cold, and looking forward to Christmas, convinced that Germany could no longer launch a major attack. Deep inside the Reich, however, Adolf Hitler was planning one last desperate gamble to change the course of the war. He believed that a sudden blow in the West could split the Allied armies and force a negotiated peace. His chosen battlefield was the Ardennes, the same forest his armies had used to surprise France in 1940. The region was thinly held by American troops, many of them new to combat, strung out along snowy, wooded hills. Behind those hills lay vital road junctions leading to the port of Antwerp, the Allies' main supply lifeline in northern Europe. If German armor could punch through the American lines, seize the crossroads, and reach Antwerp, entire Allied armies might be trapped. The operation was given deceptive code names, but historians remember it as the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler's last gamble. To gain surprise, German commanders massed more than 200,000 men and nearly 1,000 tanks in the dark forests. Columns of panzers and trucks crept forward at night, headlights covered, engines muffled, guided by signposts and local guides. Elite SS Panzer divisions were reinforced by hastily raised Volksgrenadier units and boys and old men from a drained German population. Hitler hoped heavy overcast would ground Allied aircraft, neutralizing one of the Allies' greatest advantages, overwhelming air superiority. On the American side, the Ardennes sector was considered quiet, a place to rest battered units and break in inexperienced divisions. Command posts were relaxed, some planning Christmas concerts. Many soldiers slept in log huts, farm barns, and foxholes under light snow. Shortly before dawn on 16 December 1944, that uneasy quiet shattered under the roar of thousands of German artillery guns. Shells crashed across a 70-mile front, smashing communication lines, battering forward positions, and sowing confusion in the darkened woods. Through the morning fog, German infantry surged forward, slipping between outposts, infiltrating villages, and overwhelming isolated American strongpoints. Many U.S. units fought stubbornly, but some positions were bypassed or cut off, leaving headquarters unsure of where the main attack lay. Radio reports were garbled, telephone lines severed. For hours, higher commanders believed this might be only a large local counterattack. As the fog thickened and snow began to fall, German tanks rolled onto narrow forest roads, pressing west toward key bridges. American engineers blew crossings, set up roadblocks, and tried to delay with mines, bazookas, and hastily assembled anti-tank guns. One of the most famous German spearheads was led by SS officer Joachim Peiper, commanding a powerful armored battle group. His tanks and half-tracks pushed hard toward the Meuse River, leaving burning vehicles and shattered positions in their wake. Along their route, near the village of Malmedy, captured American prisoners were murdered, a war crime that shocked Allied troops. Word of the massacre spread quickly, hardening American resolve and convincing many soldiers that surrender was no longer an option. Yet despite early German successes, pockets of American resistance began to form around key towns and ridgelines. At Elsenborn Ridge, near the northern shoulder of the offensive, the 99th and 2nd Infantry Divisions dug in and held firm. Again and again, German assaults crashed into their positions, but accurate artillery and determined riflemen stopped the panzers from breaking through. In the south, the small town of St. Vith became another vital road hub, stubbornly defended against repeated German attacks. These delaying actions disrupted the tight German timetable, forcing armored columns into traffic jams on icy, cratered roads. The deepest thrust of the offensive aimed at a crossroads town whose name would become legend, Bastogne. Bastogne sat at the center of 7 major roads, making it essential both to German advance and Allied defense. As German units closed in, mixed elements of the American 101st Airborne Division, tanks, artillery, and support troops rushed there. Blizzard conditions, broken bridges, and enemy roadblocks turned the approach into a race against time through snow-choked countryside. By 20 December, Bastogne was effectively surrounded, American units holding a shrinking defensive ring under constant shelling and probing attacks. German envoys approached with a written demand for surrender, confident the isolated garrison could not long resist. The acting American commander, General Anthony McAuliffe, famously rejected the offer with a one-word reply that has entered military legend. Fighting continued around Bastogne's perimeter, with paratroopers defending frozen foxholes in forests lit by muzzle flashes and flares. Inside the town, medics worked in makeshift aid stations, while ammunition, fuel, and food supplies dwindled dangerously low. For days, the weather stayed thick and overcast, grounding most Allied aircraft and allowing German columns to move with less fear. Then, just before Christmas, the skies finally cleared, revealing columns of German vehicles exposed on snowy roads. Allied fighter bombers and heavy bombers struck back, blasting convoys, bridges, and supply dumps, turning many routes into blazing wreckage. Around Bastogne, transport aircraft braved flak to drop ammunition, medical supplies, and even Christmas mail to the besieged defenders. On the southern flank of the Bulge, General George Patton's Third Army was already swinging north in a rapid, unexpected pivot. Weeks earlier, Patton's staff had quietly drafted contingency plans, allowing them now to redirect entire corps towards Bastogne within days. Columns of Sherman tanks, tank destroyers, and infantry rolled over icy roads, headlights dimmed, racing to relieve the surrounded town. On December 26, 1944, Patton's lead elements fought their way into Bastogne, opening a narrow corridor and ending the immediate siege. The German advance, never as fast as its planners hoped, now began to lose momentum on all parts of the front. Fuel shortages plagued panzer units. Captured American fuel dumps had not yielded the bounty Hitler had counted on. Traffic jams stretched for miles, with tanks, horse-drawn wagons, and marching infantry all competing for the same few roads. Meanwhile, Allied High Command shifted reserves, bringing British units and additional American divisions to bear against the flanks of the Bulge. German forces had gambled everything on seizing bridges over the Meuse River. Now their spearheads stalled miles short of that line. A special German commando operation, led by Otto Skorzeny, sent English-speaking troops in U.S. uniforms to spread confusion. These commandos changed road signs, misdirected traffic, and caused panic about possible sabotage in Allied rear areas. Checkpoints tightened security, questioning drivers on American trivia. Despite some success, the operation could not reverse Germany's fading fortunes. On New Year's Day, 1945, in a last bid to regain the initiative, the Luftwaffe launched Operation Bodenplatte against Allied airfields. Low-flying German fighters surprised some bases, destroying dozens of aircraft on the ground in sudden strafing attacks. But losses among the already weakened German pilots were catastrophic, effectively crippling Luftwaffe strength in the west thereafter. As January wore on, the Allies slowly pinched the Bulge from north and south, grinding forward through snow and ruined villages. Towns changed hands, then were flattened by artillery. Forests became mazes of splintered trees and abandoned vehicles. American and German soldiers alike endured bitter cold, frostbite, and long nights in half-frozen foxholes as the front swayed. By late January, the protruding German salient had been largely erased, the front restored close to its original line. The Battle of the Bulge had lasted 6 brutal weeks, from mid-December 1944 into the early weeks of 1945. It was the largest battle ever fought by the United States Army, involving more than 500,000 American soldiers. Casualties on both sides were staggering, with tens of thousands killed, wounded, or captured, and entire towns reduced to rubble. For Germany, the offensive squandered the last reserves of tanks, fuel, and experienced troops available in the West. When the snows melted, the Reich had no strength left for new large-scale offensives. From then on, it fought only delaying actions. Hitler's hope of splitting the Allies and forcing a separate peace had proved an illusion, bought at terrible cost. For the Allies, the battle was a harsh reminder that the enemy, though cornered, remained capable of sudden, deadly surprises. Yet it also revealed the resilience of ordinary soldiers who held at key points like Bastogne, Elsenborn, and Saint-Vith. Their stubborn defense, combined with air power and rapid reinforcement, turned a looming disaster into a costly but contained crisis. Today, the quiet forests and villages of the Ardennes still bear scars, monuments, shell holes, and rusting fragments of armor. Visitors walk the same ridgelines and crossroads where young soldiers once shivered in the snow, unsure if they would see spring. The Battle of the Bulge remains a powerful symbol of Hitler's final throw of the dice and of the resilience that stopped it.